Hey guys, what's up? It's Jay. We're back here at Jay versus Horror, and we're gonna start doing some horror movie reviews, new movies as they come out. Maybe we'll go back and do some retroactively here and there. But this week we're gonna talk about three new movies I caught, and we're gonna give a little breakdown of them and kind of give you some idea what I think and if I think you'll like it or not. I don't really tell people not to watch things. Always just tell them if you like this, you may like this. If you're not into this, maybe you won't be into this. That kind of stuff. So I really never tell anyone to not watch anything because there's every movie that I've ever seen, even the movies that I hated the most. Every single one of those movies is somebody's favorite movie. Somebody in this world that is their favorite movie. Their house has posters of it. There's signed memorabilia everywhere. So that's the way I feel about that. So we'll just get started here and I'll give you my thoughts. The first film we're going to talk about is from 2019, didn't get released till 2020 though, and it's called Porno, and it's a horror comedy. It's much simpler than it sounds, right? It sounds like it's going to be terrible and nasty, but it's really more fun than that. It's about these five teenagers who work at a movie theater, and one night the boss, I guess once a week, lets them pick one of the movies to watch, after everybody's gone, and they are stuck between A League of Their Own and Encino Man, which I probably would have went with Encino Man at the time. Anyway, yeah, but the boss leaves and they go to watch their movie, but all of a sudden there's a crazy hobo in the room, and he bursts through a entrance that nobody is conveniently ever aware of before this moment, and it leads down to a basement where they find an old porno film, and they take that up and decide that's the movie they want to watch because they're all teenagers and it's a heavily Christian, like footloose type town. Everybody's super repressed. Even the guy who loves heavy metal is a Christian. He's been in rehab and he's changed his life and all this. It's interesting, some of the subplots. Actually, the best part of this movie are these little subplots that run through it. It's set in the 90s, and there's also an interesting relationship between two of the workers, female and male, two of the kids there, where they had a relationship before the summer, and then something happened over the summer where they lost communication. And it's kind of interesting where that goes because it's not your typical teenage storyline. But anyway, the movie gets a little off the rails here and there, but it is fun. Basically, these kids watch this porno movie, and similar to something like '85's Demons from Lamberto Bava and Dario Argento, the movie starts to make things happen to them. Okay, there's a sexual succubus in this film, and once you watch the movie, it releases her into the theater. You're trapped in the theater with her, and she slowly tries to like get each one of these kids and people alone to sexually seduce them in their own way, like some whatever it is they're into the most, or what it is that turns them on. She tries to go at them with that, and the movie's not really scary. It's not always that funny. It's a little gross sometimes, and not even just from a porno sense. Some of the effects are kind of gross. Uh, and there's not a tremendous amount of sex stuff in it. I mean, there's some nudity from the top up, a lot probably, but that's the main part. With that, it doesn't really go full on that much. There's some like soft core sex scenes, but they don't last very long. And the best part of the movie is the interactions between the kids and the weird little subplots, the storylines about their life, and it's a little ambiguous at the end. It's a little up for grabs, I guess, but they do try to wrap it up. It seems like they tried to write an ending that made it make sense. And the movie's a little slow, though. I say that it takes about 45 minutes to even really get, into what's happening. It takes them 20 or 30 minutes to find the movie, and then they got to play it, and then they got to talk about it, and then it's about 30, 45 minutes before anything really happens that catches your eye. And then it goes pretty quick from there, and it's just goofy and gory and fun. I'm going to give Porno from 2019. I'm going to give it 5 out of 10, guys. I think it's an average movie, which 5 out of 10 is not bad for me. I start everything at 5 out of 10, and then you either gain points or you lose points from there. So you're probably never going to hear me give a movie a 2 because I'm not even going to talk about it, really, if it's a 2. There's no point in that. It's a waste of my time and yours. But you'll probably also never hear me give a movie a 10. You might, on the rare occasion, hear me do 9, 9.5 if I just love the movie. But yeah, usually, it's going to be in that range of 4 to 8 or 9. And I'll give some decent explanations for why I think that. And we're moving on. Our next film is called The Wretched. And this is another film that's about teenagers. It's from 2019. It's gotten a little buzz lately because it's been playing at drive-in movie theaters. None of the big films are releasing right now. They push their release dates back. So the only thing showing at drive-ins are these smaller indie films, and The Wretched is one of them. It's a 2019 kind of it's a supernatural horror film, but it also has a creature in it. So that's interesting. But it's a little too busy for me. I think this one gets a little too into the teenage angst stuff, and it's not really good at it. I mean, the movie's set up to be about this kid who, he's gotten in some trouble, so he's sent to live with his dad for the summer, which we've seen that several times in different setups. But yeah, there's a family that lives right next door to them. And in one scene, this family, the mother and one of the younger sons is out in the woods, lost in the woods for some reason. It doesn't really explain why they're out there or what they're doing. And there's some hints there that something evil is in the woods. And then on the way home, apparently they hit a deer and kill it. They don't show that scene because I would imagine that scene costs money, and it's just easier to cut it and make it seem creepy by just saying that it happened, And so I think that's what they tried to do there. They didn't show the deer being killed, which they should have actually, because it's pretty key to what goes on here in the film. Something is inside the deer. It's traveled from the woods into this dead carcass of this deer, and now it's at their home. And the kid across the street starts to notice weird things happening at their house. But that would be a good movie if they just went from there and did kind of like a Disturbia thing where he's grounded or something, so he's seeing all this play out and he starts getting involved in it. But instead of doing that, he's got a job at a little pier, and a little dock, boating dock, and there's all these weird relationship setups with him. He's mad at his dad. He's mad at his dad's girlfriend. He's mad at his mom. He has two different girls that he likes at the dock, and you get the okay, here's the one he should have went for. The she's all that whatever reference, and here's the one that he messed up by going for. And then there's a group of kids there that want to beat him up, and it's just like it's too much of all that if you're gonna have this other part for me. And it was a little too busy, because this is another one where it takes them a really good while to get into what's happening. And they also borrow a lot from like some Irish myths and things like that, legends, folklore, I guess you would call it. And they use kind of like the changeling, the story of the changeling, and they muddy it up a little bit with some of their own ingredients there about, or what they think is going on. See, it has the changeling part because this creature, who is in the shape of a woman to some degree to begin with, she takes over other people's appearance, takes over their body, but she doesn't know how to act like them very well, and that kind of always gets her in trouble. But she also has the ability to like seduce other people into doing what she wants them to do, and she's also a witch, and she's also kidnapping children, but it doesn't say exactly why she's doing it. I mean, there's some implication. Maybe she needs a certain amount to do it. I mean, I'm sure she's not trying to take over the world, I guess. They don't really say. But yeah, the ending's not bad. It's a little some stuff you've seen, but it's not terrible. The film's not terrible at all. And this is one where I'm going to go a little bit higher just based on some of the creature effects, I think, in this one. I'm going to go up to 5.5 on The Wretched. And I'm not trying to be too hard on it, guys. I think when you see it, it's like I said, there's a chance you'll love it. And it's definitely, I wouldn't be talking about it if I didn't think it was worth somebody's time. So, yeah, check it out. You never know, you may love it. It may be one of your favorite supernatural horror films of the year. So let's move on to our third film and our final film this time. And I'll be back. Today's Tuesday. I'll come back next Tuesday. And we'll do 3 more films, 3 new films. And we'll keep doing that. And if I can't find 3 new films, which I usually always can, but if I can't find 3 new films, we'll do 2 new films, and I'll go back to last month and pick a film, and we'll start retroactively doing films like that. So the next movie we're going to talk about is listed as a 2020 horror film, which is refreshing. It's called Bodycam. And it's a supernatural ghost story that involves police officers. I don't want to give anything away here because I think the setup, when you see it, is pretty self-explanatory, but there is a mystery at the end. And I think it's one of these movies, if you talk about it too much, you're going to give it away because that mystery builds throughout the second half of the movie to the end, which you kind of see coming by the end because you've been in it so long at this point. But the movie stars Mary J. Blige, Nate Wolff, David Zayas from Dexter. It's got a good cast. The acting's pretty solid. The direction is very solid. It's shot decent. And you could tell there was a lot of love put into this movie. Now, is it a success? In my mind, I think it was a success. I would probably give it like a 6.5. And I know I didn't talk about what's going on here much. I'll just say this. Mary J. Blige is a police officer who's been suspended for excessive force. When she gets back on duty, one of her friends is killed during a traffic stop, and she sees his body cam footage, and it shows something extraordinarily supernatural happening to him. But then the footage disappears. It's like erased into thin air, and nobody believes her. And they all think maybe she's on the edge, that old ploy there. And so her and her new partner, who's not a rookie, he makes sure to tell us that. And there's certain things in the movie that, like, later on you're like, okay, they could have left that out because that was an obvious, But anyway, they start investigating what's going on to these cops who are being murdered by this supernatural force. And there's some other people. It ain't just cops. It's people who do things wrong to people. And, well, I don't want to tell. Like I said, I don't want to tell you too much because it is a mystery. And I don't want to give too much away about what's going on here. But just to say that I had not seen this particular one in a while. I have seen it before in a little movie from the 90s. But I'm not going to tell you the movie because if I do, you'll know what it is. I'll let you guys guess. And, yeah. Interesting movie, great acting job here. I mean, Mary J. Blige is not maybe a all-star actress or whatever, but she carries her weight here, and she really, I mean, the movie's centered around her. She anchors it, and she does a pretty damn good job here. The premise here says a group of the Louisiana Police Department officers are haunted by a spirit after the death. I don't want to They gave the whole thing away. I'm not going to tell that. I'm just going to tell you guys what I told you. Go check it out, because I went into it cold. I didn't have any idea what it was about, and I think it made it a little more enjoyable. And like I said, guys, for me, it's like a 6 or 6.5, so you don't want it to be less enjoyable at any point, because then it starts to dip down to where you're, not so crazy about it. I thought this one was pretty good. It's not scary. I like the simpler effects that they do, and then they have some bigger, extravagant effects. I think they did it very smart the way they did it. And it's a good mystery. I mean, it's nothing you haven't seen before. It's formulaic to an extent, but it's done well. And there isn't a lot coming out right now. And you could do a whole lot worse than this movie, Bodycam. I'm going to give it 6.5. I think most of you will probably be in the same area with me around there. I could see some people being like, oh, I've seen this before. You know how some people are. But there's also going to be some people who are going to see this and love it because it does have a dramatic element to it. And I like films like that. I just saw one here a while back called Don't Hang Up, or was it Don't Go? Don't Go, or I think it was called Don't Go, and it was about a detective. It was like a play on that old movie Frequency with Dennis Quaid, but it was modernized and very much more dramatic. Man, it had me, I was about to bawl at the end of that movie. This detective's family, his brother's wife, and his niece are murdered in a home invasion. And he starts getting phone calls from his niece. And it seems to be that she's about 3 or 4 days behind him. And so he starts trying to solve the murder through her so he can stop what's happening somehow and also try to prevent it from happening in the past by telling her what's going on and where to go. It's a very interesting movie, man. And the last 15 minutes of it were so dramatic. That was a movie that I gave it an 8 out of 10. And I smile when I say that because I know a lot of people are going to be like, no. Probably more like 7. But I really dug it. And I got into the emotional part of it. And I thought the young girl who was in that movie was such a great young actress. I don't have her name in front of me right now because I wasn't planning on talking about that one. But yeah, it was a definite winner. This one's in that ballpark too because it has some of those supernatural elements and emotional elements and all that binding together to create a mystery that you have to solve too along the way. So, yeah, guys, that's what we got for this week. Those were our 3 movies: Porno from 2019, The Wretched 2019, both released recently in 2020, and Bodycam starring Mary J. Blige. I gave Bodycam 6.5. I think it's one you really want to catch. Maybe it's not for everyone, but I think most people will enjoy it. The Wretched is a little more of a kids movie that has some decent effects and uses some mythology from other places and mixes it together to create a witch story. And then Porno, which is just a really raunchy comedy. American Pie meets Saved meets Demons meets a sex teenage kids movie. I don't know. Yeah, American Pie. I mean, that's about the best way to describe it. It's not for everyone because it doesn't do any of those things excellently. It does them all pretty good at different times. But that's all we got for this week. I'll catch you guys next Tuesday, and we'll have some more reviews. If we don't have enough new movies, we'll find something retro to watch. And if you have any suggestions, if there's anything that came out this week or last week or anytime recently and I haven't seen it, leave the suggestions in the comment box. And like and subscribe, guys. And maybe if you leave a suggestion and I haven't seen it, I'll definitely watch it. How's that? I promise you 100%. If you leave a movie here that I have not seen, I will watch it and review it next week. All right, guys, that's all we got this time. We'll talk to you next time we got something worth talking about. Bye.